Things are heating up fast in the Bay, and it's starting to feel like the Jonathan Kuminga saga might be reaching the point of no return. Warriors fans have been holding out hope that something could be salvaged, that maybe the front office and Kuminga's camp would find common ground. But after what we saw recently, that hope might be fading quick. His agent stepping on in national television, airing grievances about the organization, about how things have been handled since the beginning of free agency back on July 1st. It just adds fuel to a fire that's already been burning for months. And if that wasn't enough, you've got the social media blackouts, deleting Instagram and Twitter. That's the kind of move that screams, I'm done. And not just frustrated done, but mentally already checked out. Now sure, his agent tried to cushion the blow a little, saying things like he wants to stay in Golden State, and he just wants control over his future. But let's be real. In today's NBA, when a player starts talking about controlling their own destiny, it's usually code for get me out of here. And the way this is played out, public statements, trade leverage, contract talk, it all points in one direction. Kuminga doesn't want to be here anymore, and frankly, it's looking mutual. The Warriors are in win-now mode. They're not in a position to babysit a young talent who's already looking past the Bay. Let's also talk money. Reports are coming out that his price tag for a new deal is sitting at around $25 million per year for 2 guaranteed seasons. That's not the kind of contract you give a guy who's half in and half out. That's the kind of number you hand to someone who's supposed to be a cornerstone. And right now, Kuminga's not playing like a cornerstone. He's playing like a guy who wants to force the team's hand. And when you look at how this roster is structured, Steph, Draymond, Wiggins, they're in what people are calling last dance mode. They've got maybe 2 years to go all in before age and mileage start shutting the window for good. This isn't the time for drama or question marks. And that's where the real problem lies. In this current phase, every single guy on the roster has to be locked in. Same goals, same drive, same focus. Everyone moving in the same direction. You can't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out when you're trying to chase a ring. And Kuminga's situation feels completely off that rhythm. Even if the Warriors manage to convince him to come back on some kind of flexible deal, a 3-year contract with a player option at the end, they're still not all the way aligned. Because the minute the trade deadline hits, that conversation resurfaces. The front office will be looking to make moves, and Kuminga's name will be right back on the board. That's not how you build championship chemistry. If the Warriors want to make a splash and elevate this roster to true contender status, they need to make the big move now, not in February, because teams don't become title favorites by scrambling at the trade deadline. They need to know who their guys are and let them build chemistry from day 1 of the season. That means whatever trade involving Kuminga has to happen sooner rather than later, so this group can grow together and get into championship form by spring. Now, when you start digging into trade scenarios, things get complicated fast, because Kuminga's camp wants leverage. They're already floating ideas like taking the qualifying offer if he's not dealt to a destination of his choice. That's basically a threat. Send me where I want to go, or I'll walk for free next summer. And while there are definitely teams who'd love to have him, the Warriors also need to think strategically. There are certain places they absolutely cannot send him, no matter what the return is. The Kings? Off the table. That's a rivalry in the making. Same goes for Phoenix. No reason to make a team in your own conference better, especially when you're trying to climb your way back to the top. And at some point, the front office is going to have to drop the whole "we need draft capital" mindset. That strategy might work for rebuilding squads, but the Warriors are way past that. Steph isn't getting any younger. You need contributors now, not picks that may or may not develop into something 3 years from now. If they deal Kuminga, it has to be for players who can step in immediately and impact winning. Maybe the trade package doesn't include a first-rounder. That's fine. Get a 3rd veteran piece, get someone who fits, and go win games. Honestly, the best scenario at this point might be sending Kuminga out east. That way, he gets a fresh start. The Warriors avoid empowering a Western rival, and there's no risk of running into him during a critical playoff series. And one team that's starting to gain traction in the rumor mill is the Chicago Bulls. Now, any deal with the Bulls would likely include some moving parts. Moses Moody and Buddy Hield have both been floated around as potential trade chips. And I'll be real, I'm not the biggest fan of either of them. even though they're solid rotation pieces. But Chicago has what the Warriors need: expiring contracts and flexibility. You can make that money work. So here's what the deal might look like. Kuminga gets moved. He signs his next big deal, probably that $25 million a year figure over 3 or 4 seasons. And the Warriors take back half that salary in return. Moody and Hield might be part of the outgoing package, but that opens up cap space and, more importantly, a roster spot. And that spot could be key, because as we get closer to the start of the season, more and more teams are going to have to cut talent. Brooklyn, for example, has a logjam. They can't keep everyone. New York has pieces like Malcolm Brogdon, Landry Shamet, Alex Len, guys who won't fit on the final roster. Golden State can swoop in and pick off some real contributors off the waiver wire or use their trade exception to grab young, available talent. And don't forget, teams like Philadelphia might also be looking to shed salary. That could open the door for names like Kelly Oubre or even Andre Drummond, especially if the Sixers are trying to lock in Quentin Grimes. So now the Warriors have all these moving pieces, all these potential tools to build a real, complete roster. The only thing stopping them is indecision. This isn't about just finding a trade for Kuminga. This is about constructing the final version of the roster that can actually make a deep playoff run. Once they fill out those remaining holes, shooting, defense, rebounding, this team is going to be a problem. You've already got glue guys like Gary Payton II, D'Anthony Melton, Al Horford. Those are battle-tested veterans who know how to play in high-pressure games. Better to give those minutes to dudes who fit than to try and force-feed touches to someone who doesn't want to be there. Because look, the worst-case scenario is the Warriors just running it back with the current core and hoping for the best. That gets you back in the play-in at best. That's not where this franchise belongs. Ever since they lifted that title in 2022, they've been stuck in no man's land. Middling, waiting for something to click. But that magic doesn't just happen. You got to go out and build it. And let's be honest, if Kuminga's gone and the Warriors can land someone like Nikola Vucevic and Kevin Huerter in return, that's a lineup that can compete. Steph at the 1, Huerter at the 2, Wiggins at the 3, Draymond at the 4, Vucevic holding it down at the 5. That's length, spacing, IQ. That's the kind of unit that wins playoff games. And behind them, you still have the likes of Seth Curry, Melton, Payton II, Podziemski, potentially Oubre, maybe even a flyer on someone like Tyler Kolek. You've got real options. And adding a stretch big like Al Horford or even someone like Quinton Post, who quietly hit over 40% from deep last season, just gives you even more lineup versatility. That's what this team has lacked in recent years: depth, flexibility, and cohesion. Trading Kuminga is painful, sure, but sometimes subtraction really is addition. You clear that drama, and suddenly the identity of the team starts to take shape again. And I'll say this, Kuminga's going to have a good career. There's no doubt about it. He's got talent. But it's clear now that his path doesn't align with Golden State's timeline. And that's okay. Let him find his next chapter. Let the Warriors focus on maximizing what little time they have left with Steph. Because whether it's one more shot a ring or the start of something completely new, this team needs clarity. And that clarity starts with moving on. Another layer to this whole Kuminga situation that's not being talked about enough is the psychological toll it's taking on the team dynamic. When a young player, especially one who's been groomed within your system, starts making noise about wanting out, it naturally creates tension. It's not just about front office decisions anymore. It bleeds into the locker room, into practices, into how veterans interact with him, and how younger players see the situation unfolding. If you're a guy like Brandon Podziemski or Tracy Jackson-Davis, watching this drama play out probably makes you question your own future too. Is this a team where young players grow and thrive? Or is this a team where, unless you immediately fit into the old core's game plan, you get pushed out? Those kinds of questions affect culture. And culture is everything when it comes to building a contender. This has always been Steph's team. That much is clear. But part of what made the Warriors dynasty so unique was that it wasn't just about star power. It was about everyone buying into a larger system. Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, David West, Leandro Barbosa. These weren't superstars, but they played with a common purpose. Right now, The Warriors are teetering on the edge of losing that identity. The foundation is still there, but it's not stable. When Kuminga's situation starts dominating headlines more than training camp stories or player development, you know the balance is off. And speaking of balance, one name that came up recently that really caught people's attention was Kevin Durant. The rumor that he rejected a trade to come back to Golden State. Turns out it was real. And that stings, because for all the history, all the controversy surrounding his exit back in 2019, a reunion would have made a lot of basketball sense. He and Steph still have chemistry. Draymond, while they had their issues, has matured and would likely welcome KD back with open arms if it meant another shot or ring. But the fact that Durant said no suggests there's still some emotional baggage there. And that's unfortunate, because if there was ever a time where the Warriors needed a player like him again, it's now. KD joining a team like Houston only makes the road harder for Golden State. The Rockets are young, athletic, and now they've got a legitimate scoring machine with playoff experience. You throw that into an already stacked Western Conference, where the Mavericks have size, the Nuggets are still the champs, the Timberwolves are surging, and the Thunder are loaded with talent. And you start to realize just how brutal the path back to the finals is. The Warriors can't afford to go into the season half-baked. They can't afford to be figuring things out in March. They need clarity from day one. And that means Kuminga can't be part of the roster if his head isn't in it. Let's imagine, for a moment, that the trade does go through. Kuminga gets moved, maybe to the Bulls, maybe to the East, and the Warriors bring back some veterans who fit the system. Now what? Now you've got a window to reshape the identity of this team before tip-off. You got Steph running the show, Wiggins hopefully back to playing elite defense, Draymond anchoring the defense and providing leadership, and a mix of veterans and young contributors around them. That's not a championship roster yet, but it's one you can work with. One that's flexible enough to adapt as the season goes on. And maybe the most underrated part of all this? It clears the emotional fog. Because when a player wants out and no one addresses it, it becomes this unspoken thing that looms over everything. It's the elephant in the room during team meetings. It's the awkward silence on the bench. It's the little moments of hesitation that can cost you games. Once Kuminga is gone, that fog lifts. Everyone can breathe. Everyone knows their role. Everyone is moving in the same direction again. There's also a strategic element that people aren't really talking about. The opportunity to get creative with that open roster spot. Because while the focus is on who the Warriors can get in return for Kuminga, the real magic might be in who they can sign after the dust settles. Veterans who get waived late in camp. Young players who slip through the cracks. Trade exception targets. We're talking about low-risk, high-upside additions who might not be headliners but could make a real impact. Think of what Otto Porter Jr. was in the 2022 title run. Just solid, smart basketball. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. The NBA world is buzzing with shock and speculation today as whispers turn into headlines. The Golden State Warriors have reportedly traded Jonathan Kuminga to the Charlotte Hornets in exchange for Malik Monk. Sources close to team management suggest that this move, still unofficial but widely circulated among insiders, could signal a dramatic shift in the Warriors' strategy heading into the new season. For months, the Kuminga saga has dominated the Bay Area rumor mill. The young forward, once hailed as the franchise's next cornerstone, has been at the center of countless trade speculations. Some analysts believed his potential and athleticism made him untouchable. Others argued that his inconsistency and fit within the Warriors' championship culture left the door open for a bold move. Now, according to the buzz, that door has swung wide open. Malik Monk, known for his electrifying scoring bursts and perimeter shooting, could be exactly the shakeup the Warriors crave. With Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green still anchoring the squad, Monk's offensive versatility might provide the scoring punch off the bench, or even in the starting lineup, that Golden State has long sought. Yet, skeptics argue that Monk's defensive lapses and streaky nature could mirror some of the very concerns the Warriors had about Kuminga. On the other side of the trade, Kuminga heading to Charlotte sparks its own set of questions. The Hornets, building around LaMelo Ball, may see Kuminga as the explosive, multifaceted talent capable of elevating the team to playoff contention. Some insiders speculate that the Hornets front office has been eyeing Kuminga as a long-term asset, someone who could eventually become a foundational piece alongside Ball and Terry Rozier. As with all blockbuster rumors, fans are divided. Social media platforms are ablaze with debates. Some see the trade as a masterstroke for Golden State, others as a gamble that could backfire. One thing seems certain. If this deal materializes, the Warriors' roster dynamics and championship aspirations will enter an entirely new chapter. Meanwhile, the NBA rumor mill is already spinning, with analysts and insiders dissecting every possible implication for both franchises. The season is still months away, but the basketball world can hardly wait. Could Malik Monk be the missing piece Golden State needs? Or will Kuminga flourish in Charlotte and make the Warriors look back in regret? For now, the whispers have become impossible to ignore, and the NBA landscape may never be quite the same. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.